this very historical press conference, and my task is to introduce the new governor of the central bank. And of course, it's well known in the press, the media, that person is Governor Timothy Antoine, depends on what's your orientation. Governor Antoine received the overwhelming support of the Monetary Council for his appointment. And we'd like to take this opportunity to thank the search committee that has also been involved in this process of selecting a governor. And we arrived at the conclusion that in this period, Governor Antoine is well suited to lead the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and the ECCB Union in this period. He has a great deal of experience, as young as he looks, in the area of financial management and project management of all kinds throughout the region. He's been the director of the Central Bank, represented from Grenada. He's been involved in a lot of regional organizations as well as the World Bank over the years. And we think he's well suited to this position. I said upstairs during the introduction to the staff that I met Governor Antoine some 10 years ago, and he made an intervention at the Caribbean Development Bank meeting. I can remember seeing him right now. And I turned to my colleague next door and asked, "Who's that guy?" And I said, he has a very bright future for leadership in our region. And then I said to myself, but he's too bright to be a politician. So he will probably be the leader of some important regional organization. Ironically, I have the privilege and the honor of introducing him as the new leader of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in my period. It is an event that has taken place only once in the last 32 years of the bank. I'm sure that the press is happy to be here for this historic event. This is not about me. I'm here to facilitate this press conference. Without any further ado, let me introduce again, with pleasure and an honor, Governor Timothy Joseph Antoine.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Chairman, Honorable Victor Banks, Chief Minister of Anguilla. I am very appreciative of the time you've taken to have me installed as the third governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. I want at the outset to recognize our media partners here gathered and to say to you that it was my expressed wish to meet with you on my very first day in office, to signal to you how important I regard our relationship as we go forward. Media partners, the Central Bank wishes to work very closely with you on our agenda. But before I continue, let me again reaffirm how humble I am to have been asked to take on this assignment at this particular time. And I thank the Monetary Council for the faith and confidence reposed in me. I also wish to acknowledge the colossal contribution of my predecessor, Sir K. Dwight Venner. Sir Dwight has served the region long and well. His is an illustrious career, and I have been fortunate to have benefited from his guidance and wisdom over the years. And in many ways, on regional matters, he has been a mentor. And so I, on behalf of the bank, I again express my deep, deep appreciation for Sir Dwight's contribution and wish him the very best in his well-deserved retirement. And I'm sure as we go forward, there will be ways and means for us to honor the legacy of Sir Dwight. I want to also acknowledge the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Since the arrival of my family in the Federation just about a week ago, I have found the people very warm, very welcoming, and very generous with their advice. And for that I am grateful and I say thanks. I have arranged this media session today to signal my intention, our expressed desire and commitment to work with you, our media partners, in this tenure. And I now want to share with you some initial thinking on a new vision for a new era at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Now, we had proposed to do this via a video PowerPoint presentation. Unfortunately, as you're well aware, we have some internet challenges, I'm told, across the region. And therefore, I'm going to resort to speaking to some of the issues. And as I speak, I believe my colleagues are making some copies available to you of that presentation. So my intention is to very briefly share some initial thoughts with you on our new vision. And then, of course, we would open the floor for any questions. I do also want to acknowledge the presence of the Financial Secretary, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance of Anguilla, Dr. Aidan Harrigan, who is accompanying the Chairman, Chief Minister Banks today. I also see in the room many of my colleagues, the Deputy Governor, the Managing Director, Management and Staff of the bank, and I also acknowledge their presence. So some initial thoughts. When I spoke to the staff, management and staff, a little earlier this afternoon, I shared with them some key messages, and I want to just share that with you before I go to the vision. And the first thing I said to them, I reminded them, we are public servants. We are servants. And that we must never take our position for granted. We must never take the central bank for granted. We are accountable to the people of this region. And I wanted to affirm that as a chief public servant of this bank, that we are committed to serve. The second key message to my colleagues was that this is a time of enormous challenge, and the central bank is called upon to lead the pursuit of structural transformation across our region, and we must step up. I recognize that the bank has worked hard, the bank has done a lot of good work, but I also recognize that the times require us to do more and to rise to the challenges of the day. And so I challenge my colleagues to step up. And my third and final key message was, our cause is noble and urgent, but we must do so, and we can only do so through collective action within the bank and across the currency union. And this point of collective action is something you will hear again and again from us and from me throughout my tenure at this bank. We cannot do it alone, we need each other, and we need to work together. And my bottom line was, we must do for ourselves what only we can do for ourselves. In other words, it is very apparent to me that there are some things that this region must do that requires no one to tell us what we ought to do, and we ought not to wait on anyone to do what we must do. There needs, therefore, to be a sense of urgency about how we go about addressing the issues of the day. And the challenges are many and varied, and you know them well. I'll highlight a couple as I speak on the vision, but they're well known around the region. Now, the vision for the ECCU. And if you have your presentation, you will follow me now. A strong EC dollar, a strong and resilient financial system. And let me make the point, at the moment our financial system is stable and improving, but we want it strong and resilient, able to withstand shocks. Because as you know, the business cycle from time to time goes up and goes down. And we must be prepared to be resilient regardless of the circumstances. So we envisage a strong and resilient financial system. And let me just say this, when I think of vision, I think of what could be and should be. What could be and should be. And essentially what I'm attempting to do is to paint a picture of the future and to fire up our colleagues, to fire up the staff so that there's passion in us, within the bank, to actually go out and fulfill this vision. What could be and what should be. A strong EC dollar, strong and resilient financial system, sustainable public finances. Sustainable public finances. So here I'm speaking about the governments and the countries. A single economic and financial space. Our people need to be able to operate in a very competitive environment because the rest of the world owes us nothing. They're not waiting on us. And we need to understand what time of day it is. We have to be more competitive. And the single economic and financial space is a very important outcome in that regard. Single-digit employment or single-digit unemployment. And I put it differently, full employment. And that may mean 5 or 6%, depending on the countries. In the United States, it's probably around 5%. In our countries, it might be 5, 6%. Whatever that level is, we want to see people employed. We are particularly concerned about our youth. And we understand that if we don't reach out to our youth and gainfully employ them, educate them, and provide them with opportunities, we're going to lose a generation to a great peril. And so we must look at the issue of employment. And finally, a striving and thriving citizenry. We believe that we must have people express themselves, people must realize their potential in the currency union. At the end of the day, regulating banks, regulating the supply of money and credit are important, but they are ends to growth and development, which is enshrined in the purposes of the bank. If you look at our agreement, our ECCB agreement, we need to make sure that the quality of life of our people is improving, and therefore we have to look at the citizens. Now, that takes me, having looked at the currency union, which is the region we serve, now to look at the bank. So I'm focusing now, drilling in on the bank itself, which is a very important institution in the currency union to the end, which is the vision I just mentioned. And for the ECCB, it would be to maintain a strong EC dollar, delivering comprehensive oversight of the financial system that encourages the development of strong and resilient financial institutions, including indigenous or national banks. I want to be clear. I believe that there's a role in our economies for national banks, but they clearly have to be able to adjust to the challenges of the day, whether it is the corresponding banking relationship, whether it is AML CFT, and by AML I mean anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism, whether it is competition from the foreign banks. But we need to have a banking system that is strong, that is resilient, that includes national banks to meet our development needs. I also believe we have to be monitoring credible and effective fiscal rules. I think all of you know we have a target debt to GDP ratio of 60% by 2030. For us to accomplish that as a currency union, we will need credible and effective fiscal rules. Without those, 2030 may roll around and we may not meet that target. And so it's going to be very important for us to have those rules and for us to set interim targets as we move towards 2030. I continue. providing thought leadership and influential policy advice to member countries and territories to elevate growth, development, and employment. So here again, we focused in on the real issues. Now, there are some people who feel the central bank should simply focus on regulating commercial banks and the supply of money and credit. Those are very important core functions of the bank. But I do believe, I truly believe, given the needs of our region and given what our institution represents our region, we have to also play a very important role in providing advice to our governments, to our clients, on the matters of employment, of development, and of growth. I think that's very important. And what I envisage is that we are going to be proactive. We are going to look around the global arena. We are going to see the trends. We are going to acknowledge the realities. And we want to be proactively advising our governments about how to meet opportunities and to address threats. So seize opportunities and to address threats. And we don't want to be reactive, where we engaging in sunset industries when it's almost midnight. Because, of course, there's no real prospect there. We have to be proactive, and that's a role I see for the bank. And then we have to be a continuously learning bank. Continuously learning, continuously improving what we do, and sharing our learnings with the community. That's extremely important. We cannot sit on our laurels and feel we have arrived, we have achieved, and we're, start to feel that we're there and we're all that. We have to be humble, continue to learn, and as we learn and we grow, we must share those learnings with the currency union. I believe right now there's a lot of good research that goes on in the central bank that never sees the light of day. That does not really impact the currency union, because perhaps we are not disseminating it in the most accessible way. So we have to look at that and make sure all of that hard work actually redounds to the benefit of the people of the region. So those are things we have to improve. Now to our strategic priorities. At this moment, I see 4 strategic priorities. 1, financial stability. Everyone knows that we are responsible for regulating, supervising commercial banks, but financial stability is about both banks and non-banks. So what I see is a complete line of sight that allows the Monetary Council to see the entire financial system, bank and non-bank. Of course, the central bank's role is on the commercial banks, not the non-banks, but we must see the complete picture, because as we found with BICO and CLICO, they are interconnected. Insurance companies are connected to banks, are connected to credit unions, and if we ignore one, what is it? The chain is as strong as the weakest link. Yes, we have to make sure we have a broad view. But the central bank, of course, primary responsibility in the area of financial stability is the commercial banks, and that's where we will be focused. Fiscal and debt sustainability. I think you all appreciate that our governments have had their major challenges, continue to have challenges through the Great Recession. We are starting to see improvements in the fiscal performance of our countries. We want to encourage that, and we want to get to fiscal and debt sustainability such that when there is a shock, the countries can respond with counter-cyclical fiscal policies. Right now, unfortunately, because there's little fiscal space, when there's a shock, the countries have to cut back. They have to contract at a time when ideally they ought to be expanding, spending more to be able to meet the challenge and to keep aggregate demand or encourage aggregate demand, and of course to minimize any hardships. The reality is that many of our governments have had to cut capital expenditure as a result of limited or declining fiscal space. So the idea of fiscal and the sustainability is that the debt is manageable, and when there's a shock, you can respond to a shock. And we believe that there are ways and means that we can achieve that. Growth, competitiveness, and employment, I think they speak for themselves. We believe the central bank has an important role to play there. And then, having considered all of the 3 strategic priorities I mentioned, the bank itself must be organized to be able to assist with the delivery of these priorities. And therefore, the 4th strategic priority is enhancing organizational effectiveness. We have to make sure that our setup allows us to deliver. We have to make sure that we have a program of action, that we have the resources, that we have the skill set, that our resources are aligned to priorities, and that everything we do in the bank is aimed at those top 3 priorities that we just mentioned. We have to make sure. Our mantra, I'm almost at the end, our mantra. I have coined a framework very simple, that we will rally around as a bank as we go forward. And it is STAR star. What does that mean? S stands for service excellence. And I made a point to staff, management and staff earlier. I believe we are servants. We have to serve excellently. And it begins with us listening, all of us, starting with me as the governor, and the entire staff. We must listen with our eyes, our ears, our heads, our heart to the currency union, to our clients, to be able to understand the needs and to be able to respond to those needs. And I also believe we must delight in serving the region. I made a point that I want to work with people who are not just here for a paycheck or who are just here to build a CV. I want to work with people who take joy in serving the region because we believe we're making an important difference. Frankly, that's why I'm here. That's what it's all about. So, service excellence. T stands for teamwork. That's obvious. We got to do it together. We can't do it within the bank and across the currency union. A, accountability. At the end of the day, we must not make excuses. We must get on with the job, and we must hold each other accountable. Ultimately, the bank is accountable to the region through the board, through the monetary council, but ultimately the people. And R stands for results. So that's going to be our mantra. Service excellence, teamwork, accountability, and results. Finally, I want to say a word on media. You are here because I believe you are a very important partner. And I'm reaching out to you today, and I'm signaling to you that we want to work with you very closely. We will have periodic media engagements, such as we have today. From time to time, we will provide briefings on various issues where we get to present, you get to ask questions, and we have discussions. We are going to be launching, very importantly, a podcast, which says Inside Finance. This is Inside ECCB. Inside ECCB, where we're going to open up the bank and help people to understand what it is that the central bank does. Because I must tell you that a lot of people know of the bank, but they do not know the bank. They do not understand what it is we really do. And I think it's very important, not just that we be transparent, but if we're going to be able to build support across the region for our reforms and our initiatives, people have to understand our role and understand how they can help us to be a strong institution to serve them. And therefore, the matter of, we're going to be launching a podcast called Inside ECCB. And that is going to be weekly. And I'm looking forward to that because I believe it will play a very important role in really energizing the region about a lot of things and providing a lot of information for citizens and our business people and our students and our academia and various people. And finally, we are going to do some workshops. From time to time, we are going to arrange to have some workshops. Sometimes we will initiate, sometimes you will signal to us you would like a session in a particular area, and we are going to work with you because we also serve you as media, even as you serve us as a region and as a bank.
Visit the SKNIS on YouTube to watch informative, exciting, and thought-provoking programs such as Working for You, Current Speeches, SKNIS exclusives, and much more. Hit the subscribe button to be alerted when a new video is uploaded. What are you waiting for? Head to the SKNIS and start exploring.